I want anyone who's been through what I've been through or anything similar to know this. It's time to take your power back. It's time to find your voice. It's time to start being happy and living again. This isn't about them. It isn't about anyone else. This is about you. Finding your voice, keeping it, and never letting anyone silence it again. It's about reclaiming your power, loving yourself, and living your life to the fullest. Hi, YouTube. Welcome to my channel. My name is Indigo, and I hope you enjoy, get something out of my purpose on being here. So, my purpose for this channel is to talk about trauma, stress, depression, anxiety, um, and also I want to tell my story. I want to tell my story because I would like to first let people know what led up to um, me having depression and anxiety and panic attacks, and how I was able to, overcome it and just find my power. So I'm 47 years old, and I can remember as far back as 5 years old when, you know, things weren't. I grew up in a family. First of all, my mother, I have a sister. So it was me and my sister, my mother, two uncles, and my grandmother. Now I don't know how they became to live with us. I don't know what happened. I don't even know. I know I was 5 years old, and things were normal at first. I guess, you know, um, we went to school. Me and my sister went to school. A lot of times we went to school with the neighbors. So we lived in Brooklyn, East New York to be exact. And a lot of the kids back then in the early 80s, um, a lot of the kids from the neighborhood walked to school together. So it was me, my sister, and a couple of people, a couple of other kids and everything going to school and everything. Normal stuff. Played on the block, um, hopscotch, double dutch, Scully, different games from the 80s. So things were normal for the most part. My uncles, I played football with them, baseball, things like that. We had the ice cream truck would come around, parents on the block would buy the kids, it was a lot of fun. Till, I don't know, just one day, a lot of it changed. Um, so yeah, I just remember my mother not being there a lot. I remember my uncles watching me and my sister and I. Um, my grandmother would come home from work and then she would watch us. Just one day, I remember I just remember waking up to abuse. I remember waking up to my uncle on top of me. I was 5 years old. I just laid there, frozen, not knowing what was going on, what was happening. I knew what was happening, but like just like what the, what is this? Okay, so um, I didn't know at the time that it was happening to my sister too, and this would be a repeated pattern of abuse. I never said anything to my sister. I never said anything to my sister about it. Um, so yeah, things like that. And when my mother would come home, we didn't say nothing to her, either. But she would come home, she would be short with us. You know, when she would give us baths, I remember an incident where I don't even know what I did, but I know it was bath time, and I was in the tub, and I guess she was washing me. I don't know what made her so mad, but she took my head and dunked it under the water. Now, I didn't know. Like I was scared. I was crying and everything like that. And I don't remember what she said or anything, but yeah, that was a scary moment for me being 5 years old. So okay, I don't know, but anyway, so that situation happened. There was also a situation with my sister. I was in the bathroom with my mother and my sister. She was attempting to give my sister a bath at that time, and my she told my sister to get in the water, and the water was too hot. So my sister told her the water is too hot, and she just pushed my sister in there. It's not too hot. Get in there. And my sister started screaming at the top of her lungs. I was so scared for my sister. I was so scared. And my mother dips her hand in it. Oh yeah, it is too hot. So yeah, that was some of the first well, the first uh times we started to be abused. Like I said, I don't know what was going. I don't know. Um, my mother dated a man who lived around the corner from us. That's where she was always, you know. So, like I said, the abuse was happening over time. And one day, me and my sister, now mind you, we're 5 and 6 years old, decided to try and escape. But what we did was we set newspapers on fire, right, in the house and pushed it under the bed because it started getting out of control. But we pushed it under the bed. It was like, oh no, no, no. But now, not knowing, we set on the bed after pushing the fire under the bed. So my other uncle, not the one that was doing the abuse to me. I didn't know the other one was doing the abuse to my sister. But anyway, till we got much older. But he came rushing in there and everything, like, oh my gosh, y'all did get off the bed, you stupid fools, you fools, like, and everything. We didn't know, but we was trying to like we thought that was like, I don't know what we was thinking, but we was 5 or 6 years old. We were trying to we was gonna run away, but we was gonna set the I don't know. But anyway, so that happened. And it just like I said, when my mother would come home, I know I don't know what happened. She said somebody stole her shoes. Uh, her and my uncle got into a big fight because she flipped the table over on him, and they got into a big fight. Me and my sister was scared, just holding each other and everything. So, but let me tell you, one day, I don't know what happened. I think I believe, like I say, 5 or 6 years old, mind you. I believe my sister is older than me. First of all, she's 6. She was 6. I was 5. Um, I believe we said something to each other about the abuse, the physical abuse, well, the sexual abuse. We decided to tell my grandmother. So one day, my grandmother, it was just me, my sister, my grandmother home. My grandmother was washing dishes. She had her back turned towards us, how the house was, the apartment was. It was a ladder in our house. So we sat on the ladder and we were we told my grandmother, and she didn't turn to us anything. She, asked us what, some questions, and we told her what happened, and she was like, it'll never happen again. And I guess she said something to him because it never happened again. But so here's the thing: in a lot of households, secrets are often swept under the rug, and it's horrible. It doesn't. I believe, in my opinion, that they sweep secrets under the rug. So that I don't know, maybe no one else would know what happened, outside of the family, or that's just how things were done, or I don't even know. It's stupid because it just creates so much trauma, so much, you know, uh, toxicity, so much, you know, stress in the lives of the people who are um, victims, So, but needless to say, it never happened again. Um, yeah, I can remember one day when waiting at school for my mother to pick me up. I'm in kindergarten. So there was an area where all the kids would sit, And I'm gonna try to make this short. I don't want to. Yeah, well, you know, all the I have a method to my madness. I promise. So all the kids would sit, and the parents would pick them up. All the kindergartners and everything. Parents would pick them up. Everybody's leaving. I believe I fell asleep. I fell asleep, and I woke up, and I was the only one there. And the monitor, the person who was monitoring the kid, waiting for the parents, help, just sitting there waiting for the parents. And I started crying because I'm like, where's everybody? Mind you, I have a sister. My sister got picked up, but I didn't get picked up. I didn't understand that. So anyway, my mother's neighbor ended up, picking me up and taking me home. She stopped by. We stopped by a store. She brought me pretzel sticks and whatever was going. I guess that store sold drugs because I saw her get drugs, and the man behind the counter was shooting up. Okay, I'm just like, you know, 5 years old, right? So anyway, I get home. My mother like, oh, I'm so sorry, and and like I said, 5 years old. So we end up getting burnt out that place. Someone set fire to the building, and it was so traumatic. We had to literally we was woken up out of our sleep to have to go down the fire escape. I'm in my panties, because that's how I slept, I guess, And I grabbed one of my mother's shoes. I never forget. It was a blue heel. It was a blue pump, like, and I grabbed one because I didn't know what to do because I know I'm naked. I mean, I just have on panties, but I didn't know what to do. So we go down the fire escape. The uncles helped, and we go down the fire escape, and someone put us in their car, and me and my sister just watched the firefighters fight and things like that, and then that was that for 28 Montauk in East New York. Um, we end up in a shelter, going to the Red Cross. I remember being there. I remember it was fun to me because it was a lot of people there, misplaced people, just different places from different places, not just, our building. And I remember it was a man, he was eating oranges, but he was eating the pills. And I was staring at him. So I was like, oh, I said, he was like, you want one? I said, yeah, I eat pills. I ain't eat no pills, but I tasted, and it burned like it was peppery or something. But anywho, so after that place, we ended up in Brownsville, New York. There was some shelters for people. I assume it wasn't just for people that was misplaced by fires. I assume it just was for homeless people, whatever. But yeah, nevertheless, that's where we stayed. So it's at that point it was just me, it was my mother, my sister, and me, and we was in some one like just a one room and things like that. And yeah, it just for the most part she was okay. I didn't know at the time she was doing drugs and things like that. So it's like, you know, um, we stayed there. We had a Christmas there. Um, I don't remember. I don't think we stayed that long there, but I just remember, my mother getting upset one day. I think she was actually cutting collard greens, and fresh collard greens, and she ended up cutting her finger, and she just was. I was like, "You okay, mommy? You okay?" And she was just like, "F, shut the f up," like just went off. And me and my sister was just like, you know, stunned. Like it just was crazy. I just don't know. Like I said, I didn't know at the time she was doing drugs. So but so moving forward, we moved to another part of the place. It was a bigger place. It was a two-bedroom, I believe it was. And that's where my uncles and my grandmother was at. We all moved in together. And I'm just like, you know, like I said, young, I don't believe I thought too much of it, but I was like, oh, here they go, and everything like that. Still, friendly to my uncle and everything like that. Both of my uncles, one of my uncles, like I said, he was my favorite uncle, but I didn't know at the time he was molesting my sister, sexual, molesting my sister. and everything like that. So yeah, we moved into that place. It seemed nice for a long time. Um, Ended up like my mother ended up putting us in the after school center and things like that. Yeah, so we would go there after school and just different things, you know. We still ended up at the same school because it wasn't too far, which is crazy. We ended up at the same school, PS 256 in East New York. Um, yeah, my mother, she was still seeing the same guy, still not really there, you know, because my grandmother was there to watch us. And sometimes she started going to school, which was like cool at that time. Like, okay, you know, she's going to school, night school things. We would be ended up we would be ending up being babysat by her my uncle's friends, you know. Yeah, so there was other those two males, things like that. So it was two males. I'm not gonna say their names, you know, but yeah, and it was okay. They didn't do anything, thank God, you know, for a while, stuff like that. And one day, you know, I was left with, I don't know, you know, a lot of times I was left. You know, it's like me and my sister didn't even grow up together really. You know, but we did. But you know, I was left um with some neighbors' friends, a son and a daughter, and the daughter was older, and yeah, she made us play house, me and her little brother, and things like that. So, anywho, needless to say, you know, um, it just was a lot of trauma for someone so young. But by this time, I'm like six, I believe six. I was in the first grade, yeah. So I'm like six, I guess seven. Um, you know, it just was a lot of situations, messed up situations. You know, a lot of kids being left alone. There was a lot of parents that was abusive to their kids on that block, on that in that place. So it's just it just was a lot, you know. I'm trying to remember. Um, so yeah, I don't remember. I'm trying to remember if there was any more things that happened. I know it was, but you know, I remember. Uh, yeah, on a school day, going to the park across the street. It was a park called Bessie Head Park. Me and my sister, no kids outside. It's school day. We go to the park. We on the swings, and it just, you know, I told my sister, I said, I'm going to look for my father. You know, I'm going to look for my father. And she was like, no, don't go. You don't know where he at and everything. And I'm saying, I'm going to look for him anyway. So I left her in the park and I went a long ways. I didn't know at the time, but I remember him taking me to my half sister's house. So I remember the path we did. It was a long way, you know, and that was crazy. I don't know, but I wanted to see my father. And I when I went there, he wasn't there. So I went on that journey by myself. And when I got back, I hit the corner, turned the corner, and I see everybody plus my mother outside. I guess they were looking for me, even though they were just standing in the middle of the block. So I don't know if they were looking for me or not, or they was just standing there looking for me. Anywho, I got there and yeah, I got in trouble. You know, I got in trouble. But my thing is, why was kids out, you know, why would kids be out by themselves going to a big old park? It was a big park, you know. Even had a big pool section in it. And why would we be unattended? But like I said, I didn't know my mom was on drugs. So this is part one of my vlog. And I hope you guys um, you know, tune into next time. Thank you.